welcome to Reed's Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Well, guys, here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for. No, I'm not going to finally reveal that I'm actually dropping the Spider-Man books and being free to actually go upon and just enjoy some good comics out there. No, I say I am ready to review, of course, Amazing Spider-Man number 25, titled, of course, What Happened to Mary Jane, the big double-sized issue where we get all those final answers, what happened to Mary Jane in that apocalypse Mayan dimension after everything that happened, of course, led to Peter and Mary Jane being on the outs, Paul and the kids explained and everything. Well, guys, it's a 50-50, and of course, it's all going to make us feel crazy. And just in case you didn't know, the pain's going to continue with a backup story about why Peter and Felicia should be always together, especially at weddings. Let's get into the pros of Zeb Wells, Mark Valentine, Andrew Pross, and John Romita Jr.'s piece on, of course, Amazing Spider-Man number 25. The pros. The issue did do a nice job actually picking up of us seeing exactly what happened after Peter was sent back to 616 in York, Pennsylvania, and Way-Up died, to actually see Mary Jane and what happened to her and Paul in this time. While there's an interesting run on the pieces, we get a lot part about pretty much Mary Jane and Paul's relationship was pretty much just one of they had to, this course, be together for various reasons. Of course, there was a lot showing up of how much Mary Jane didn't want to deal with Paul, and the fact she was always hoping for Peter going up, and as time went on and trying to run away from Rabbit, of course, things just happen, and of course, things happen magically. Paul can't be a man, as you know. They magically find this 18-month little girl that looks a lot like Mary Jane, this little kid named Owen, who of course is running from the Scribble Man, who's Rabin. Oh no, they escape and find this magical house. And as Ma and Pa Cat, as Mary Jane and Paul go through the next several months, which of course is 4 years, they make this happy little family until Rabin shows back up saying that he must now kill Mary Jane to make the pieces all set up. And of course, what happens? Peter shows back up, ruins the whole little plans, but then it's revealed that Mary Jane moved on, and they get back to 616, and Peter pretty much just walks out at everybody. What a touching, wonderful story. I'm okay. It actually wasn't that bad. Actually, the pace is very nicely done to actually have this little area, but it's completely only where the pros end, outside some nice artwork. Cons, where do you want me to start on this? It's pretty much decided the main point of this story when it all started by Zeb Wells was to make sure Mary Jane and Peter were not together. And then they had no idea how to get to that actual point. Everything, as much as they try to throw up with, of course, a character that, of course, nobody cares about with Rabin, actually pretty much proves that Owen and Ronnie Stephanie Watson are probably not real. The fact that he draws and says it will change that he can accept, and the fact that Owen's in say, if you're ready, you can hug me now. Boy, that's not suspicious at all. Because, Mary Jane is a caring person who actually cares about people who are hurt and injured. As much as she hates Paul, she doesn't want to see him dead. Or the fact that these two children are kind of left orphaned. Yet Owen has no last name. He doesn't know what happened to their parents, and the Scribble Man's apparently been watching him for several days and just magically waits for him. That's not a red flag at all. Or the fact is, where are they getting all this food at the farmhouse? Apparently Walking Dead and, even as I said too, apparently the old classic comedy 90s series, Oops, which is about a set of survivors from a nuclear war, end up at a farmhouse which has all the rations they need, but it's of course explained that the people who set up the farmhouse were ready for just a natural disaster, and apparently they perish before it happened. They get back to the farm. But yet here we're just supposed to throw contrive out. Mary Jane's 7 powers are explained. That the fact is Paul tapped into the powers that she was cursed with, but never explained within apparently 2 years how they work. And then even says, if you hit 3 skulls, I forgot to tell you, I'm getting attacked, I can't tell you. And of course we found out in the mini series that Black Hat even asked, what happens if you get 3 skulls, Mary Jane? I don't know. Interesting. Or the fact that after all this, of course, when Peter gets back and gets attacked by the Fantastic Four, attacked by really Johnny, because of Dan Slott characterization back then, he's still a hothead with his powers out of control, why the Thing's mad, but yet Reed Richards and Sue are the cool heads, stop everything, and of course Captain America, being logic, sees Mary Jane at the hospital and actually asks what happens and gets the whole story, and even more shocked that Paul actually, supposedly from 616, has no record, has no interest, yet Rabin is from 616. The storyline kind of leaves that a lot of things are just contrived. A lot of answers not one thing. Mary Jane just, had to deal with the fact that, they found these two children, and she just basically dealt with Paul. Her and her can be intimate because apparently either Paul is castrated or as unfortunately can't work that way. But we're supposed to feel sorry for him. And of course, Rabin pretty much puts out a lot of points of the story that he set up the whole thing to, of course, be killed so he could be reborn to come attack him. And of course, if Mary Jane dies, then he will have his true powers of way up. So it's pretty much showing about how much this storyline was not thought out. It's been rewritten several times from backlash to the story and from other issues. It's not much better, guys. Well, it has some interesting points, and it's kind of coming up to a finality conclusion with 26. The book just proves that basically the storyline, what Peter did was nothing. He did nothing wrong, even when he's left to be walked away. The heroes basically decided to give him space, only Johnny being upset. Basically, Peter decided because of his life heartbreaking, I'm just going to walk out of my roommate, Randy. I'm just going to walk away from my aunt. I'm going to drop a job, everything, because life just doesn't matter. Meanwhile, Norman Osborn's like, oh, here's some money. Go have this nice apartment, even though these debt collectors are coming after everything, who are secret serial killers that never sleep or eat. And that Norman later just gives them a job. And basically in other miniseries, like the Golden Goblin and stuff, Norman basically takes care of all the situations, such as, paying off his debts, getting everything. And all Peter had to do was just walk back in Aunt May and decide to have breakfast with her. And everything was a magical place floating on high. All the magic yet you can say goodbye to is crap. Yes, it is. This gets a D- from me. I only give it because of the artwork and the style. And speaking of which, the backup story by Rainbow Raylan, of course, the She-Hulk writer, with, of course, Peter and Felicia going to a wedding in Omaha, is okay. The thing is, it's got some beautiful artwork by Gomez and a couple other things, but basically it just leads to a very stupid story where a bunch of street emo guys decide to steal a bunch of wedding presents from a wedding, but yet they're in masks and everything. Only the person at the front desk and Peter realize these people will steal the gifts because, I don't know what wedding, and no offense to Rainbow, because I really like Rainbow's writing. Most presents for weddings are usually way in the back, way in the main part. And you have to actually come in with guests to everything to drop off the presents, because also so that way people know where to put them, they don't get stolen and everything else. If these people walked out, Peter using the freeway stops these criminals. And of course, when he does, they don't know who Spider-Man is, because apparently in Omaha, Nebraska, nobody knows any other superheroes in the world. It's pretty contrived and it's pretty stupid just to try to sell Peter and Felicia's story. While the artwork and the story is a little bit of fun and feels like a little bit of an old-fashioned Spider-Man story, it kind of hits its stuff, including where Peter says, for once I'd like to bring my costume, not how to use it. Well, then why did you even bring it? That story gets a C from me. And that just brings it for this review for 25. But there's more. That's right. Here is our review, of course, of Free Comic Book Day, Spider-Man and Venom, which was just released. So I'm going to help you here with a quick little run cap of those stories. So let's look at the very first story called Hunting Bait. First of all, I hate that title. But basically, it just sets up the Dr. Octopus story that's going to happen after issue 26 and the Kraven story that Zeb Wells already set up. The artwork's really well done by Patrick Gleason, and I do like the fact that, Kraven using, of course, how society is kind of like react first and not think facts later, and Peter being set up with the drugged-out gorilla, him attacking him, which makes no sense because he could have just webbed him up and then used his bug glider to stop him. Pretty much this is all set up. It's got great artwork by Gleason. It actually has some very funny parts, but of course it's contrived with Wells like, well, this is how people are. They don't believe anything. Even though you prove it 100 times, even if it happens and the house is on fire, people will actually believe that house isn't on fire. So there's my storyline, everybody. And now here's Kraven and Dr. Octopus with a plan, because these are my next two stories, because I'm all set. The story's not bad. I love the artwork, but it's kind of very contrived in how it works. So it gets a C from me. And then, of course, the next one, which, of course, is January 1940, which is actually the introduction of Flexo for the upcoming Venom story arc here. It's actually pretty well. Al Ewing and Brian Hitch do a really good job with it. It feels like a golden age story with a horror aspect of it. I actually kind of very interested in who Flexo is and actually how this is all going to key into Venom and the storylines that are going on in the book right now. So it's a lot of fun. Artwork is great. And like I said, it has a very golden age story with a little bit of a horror aspect. It's actually going to get a B from me. And then finally, that's right, just about to kick off next one, the Ultimate, that's right, Ultimate Universe coming back as the maker. Of course, Corner is, of course, our buddy Miles Morales saying that he is going to bring back the Ultimate Universe. They're the only two survivors, and he has to bring it back for Reasons by, of course, Jonathan Hickman and, of course, Brian Hitch. The artwork is gorgeous, and I do like the maker's characterization. He brings up some really great points, and of course, him going after Miles makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, who still cares about the Ultimate Universe? Because it sure is not me, and it's not a lot of writers from 20 and a lot of other fans from 20 years ago. Yes, you had the kickoff, you had Ultimates, and you had the Ultimate Spider-Man. It unfortunately went haywire after Ultimatum, and it never recovered. And the only people who seem to care about it are the editors of Marvel. So I will give it a C as well. It has a nice little intrigue, but I'm not spending money on it, and I just do not care about the Ultimate Universe anymore. It's still 2000. 23 years ago, guys. Done. Am I bitter? I don't know. We will see. I'm actually going to call it right there for this reviews and everybody cuts. So if you guys want to see out more of our information and also check out other reviews as well as our comments on this storyline as it wraps to a coupling hold in a couple weeks, so issue 26, just a couple weeks away, check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Definitely like or check out our podcast or our social media here for more information, previews, and news on all this. And of course, I'll be back in a couple weeks, guys, to review the amazing conclusion with this, of course, what did Peter do, Mary Jane do, and really what we might get as a WandaVision ending. So on that note, guys, I'll catch everybody later on the Crawl Space.